If you're a parent watching this, chances are you have been to multiple specialists, you tried countless intervention, and you're still asking yourself, why is my child still struggling? I'm about to share something with you that might change everything that you thought you knew when it comes to your child's mental health. I'm Danielle Orr from Three Arrows Functional Psychiatry. I'm a family nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and also a functional psychiatry coach. And for the past 25 years, I've been helping parents just like you uncover the real reason for their children that are struggling, and more importantly, how to heal them and not just cope with the behaviors. So today I want to talk about why your child's diagnosis might be telling you only part of the story and how to really get to the root of that, really what you can do about it. So let me paint a picture for you that might sound all too familiar. Your child has received a diagnosis. Maybe it's ADHD, maybe it's anxiety, autism, something else, maybe even ODD. And you felt that relief at first of, hey, I have an answer, but now what do I do? What happened? So you followed all the recommendations. You tried medication, the therapies, the behavioral interventions, but the little things just really weren't helping because you're still seeing the meltdowns that come just completely out of nowhere, or so it seems. The sleep issues that is really just a battle every single night, and you just become to the point where you dread putting your kid down to sleep at night. Sensory activities that may limit your family's, daily life and daily activities that you guys can do. Academic struggles, despite your child being incredibly intelligent, and also the social challenges that just break your heart. And here's what really gets to me. You've probably been told things like, oh, it's just how your child is, or you just need to manage your expectations. Maybe your expectations are too high. And I'll tell you what, as a mom and as a provider, that is not okay with me, and it shouldn't be with you either. So the truth is, traditional psychiatry often stops at a diagnosis. They give you a label, they prescribe a treatment, they call it done. Here you go, here's a medication, see you later. But what if I told you that your child's symptoms are actually their body's way of crying out for help? And we really need to be digging deeper for this. This is what we're going to go over. So as both a family nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and a mom, I've been around the block a little bit. I have seen thousands of children, and I have worked in the functional system, the traditional system. I have worked in the hospital. I have worked in the doctor's office. I've worked in community mental health. I have done the gamut. I've even worked for EMS. And so I know the limitations that come with insurance. And this is why I decided to become a functional psychiatry coach, because there are so many limitations that insurance puts on things, and just time limits. And we don't have the time to get to the root of what is going on with our child. And so this is why this is so near and dear to my heart, because I want to make a difference, and I want to make a lasting, long lasting difference with our kiddos. So functional psychiatry doesn't just look at what's wrong, what's going on. It asks, okay, why is this happening? We look at the whole child, their biology, their environment, their nutrition, their gut health, their sleep patterns, and even their stress response system. So how does your child react when something big happens? Is it a complete meltdown, or do they go with the flow okay? So here's what most people don't realize. Behaviors that look like ADHD can actually be caused by nutrient deficiencies. Anxiety symptoms can be coming from gut imbalances or overgrowth of bacteria, gut dysbiosis. I mean, all these things that can be coming from that people don't actually dig deeper into. Sleep issues may be related to methylation problems. Sensory processing difficulties may be connected to the inflammatory process and how our body just kind of detoxes, right? So I have seen countless number of children that have been labeled as treatment resistant, or I've even heard the word incorrigible with some of my patients, which as a provider breaks my heart. As a mom, it even more so just tugs at those heartstrings. Like, I can't imagine being told that my child was incorrigible and they had nothing else to help them with. That is not acceptable. This is not an acceptable way to be treating our children. And we really just see these things happening. And how do we do that? So when we talk about looking at kids that are having treatment resistant, when we're looking at the root cause, it can completely transform and address their behaviors when you're looking at those deeper pathways and things along those lines. Not because we've ignored the neurodivergence or because we're looking at other things, but really we're giving their body a chance of functioning with what they need optimally and a personalized approach. So we're able to really get in there and see what they as an individual need to thrive and to succeed. So let me share some key ideas and ways that we look at things. So we have 3 key areas that we want to investigate that are a little bit different that traditional psychiatry misses. Okay, so number 1, and I talk about this a lot with my patients, my clients, even on my Instagram, I have lots of posts about it, is the gut and the brain connection, right? So I know that you've probably heard or maybe you haven't heard this before, but if you talk to me, you've heard this because I like to tell people all the time because it's just a mind-blowing fact that 90% of the serotonin that your child gets or any individual gets is produced in their gut, in their stomach, right? You hear the thing of like, oh, a way to someone's heart is through their stomach. Well, potentially, but really a way to someone's brain is through their stomach, like legitimately. So if their gut is inflamed and their microbiome is not balanced, what happens is it can directly, absolutely 100% affect their mood. It can affect their behavior. It can affect their cognitive function, maybe some ADHD symptoms, things along those lines. And we're seeing this a lot with our kiddos with chronic digestive issues, food sensitivity, or a history of frequent antibiotics because it disrupts that gut microbiome and they struggle with mood and behavioral challenges throughout their life because they've had these things as they were younger. Now, I'm not saying that antibiotics are bad. There's a time and a place for everything. However, we need to be able to reheal our gut after we've had things like that happen so that we're able to get our gut back on track so that we're not making our brain inflamed because of that. So I recently had a client, let's call her Sarah, right? So she's an 8-year-old who was diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety, severe, and traditional systems just weren't working for her. And we ran comprehensive labs and we discovered a massive gut inflammation. And we did some testing on the functional level. And what it did is it showed that she also had multiple nutrient deficiencies. And when we actually got down to the root, and I worked one-on-one with this family and really closely, and I do lots of check-ins. And this program that I offer is really just working with patients on a one-to-one. They are my focus at that time, and I am just really working with them to get to the root cause of what's going on. When we did that and we addressed the root cause, their teachers were wondering, hey, what medications did you put this kiddo on? Asking mom this. And mom was like, we didn't put on any medications. Because we were able to get his focus and his mood and his regulation with his emotions under control, he dramatically improved. So then number 2 is that nutrient status and methylation, really our kiddos struggle with this. So many neurodivergent children have genetic variations. I don't know if you've heard about this before, but it's quite interesting. So the 2 main genetic variations have to do with our B vitamins, and that's really just like our B12 and folate are the 2 that I'm talking about. And this really impacts how our neurotransmitters are processing things in our body and detoxifying. And so when our kiddos have this MTHFR gene mutation, it may appear that they're eating well, but functionally they're deficient in key nutrients. And those are things that our brain needs. And let's be honest, the SAD diet, the standard American diet is not good. And it's lacking so many nutrients for our kids that were there many years ago, but they're lacking the nutrients. So even if our kid is eating healthy, I guarantee there's still nutrient deficiencies. So the other thing we also see is methylation issues. And this is how your body activates and just uses the nutrients. And so once it breaks them down, like how are they actually getting into your body, right? And so if methylation process isn't working correctly, what happens is it affects your mood, your regulation, your sleep, your focus, and behavior. And so the really cool thing with that is once we identify those patterns, we can totally support them naturally. And parents are amazed when we can do this and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know this could happen. This is amazing. So number 3 is environmental factors. So toxic load, mold exposure, electromagnetic sensitivity. These are things that are just really issues as far as working on looking at stuff and going, oh, these are foreign concepts, things we don't really talk about anymore. But in my world, we talk about them all the time. And so research actually shows that children with autism and ADHD have a higher toxic burden, which means that they have a really hard time with detoxifying, and their detoxification cups are just overflowing and they just really have a hard time breaking things down. And so their bodies are working so hard on trying to manage these stressors, and there's like little energy left for learning, regulation, or growth. I mean, things that our kids are needing to do on a daily basis in school, right? And so when their brain is working so hard, it just doesn't have the time to do all that extra stuff. So the other thing is that when we look at functional psychiatry is that we don't guess about any of this, we test. And parents will ask me sometimes, because I understand it's expensive, but really, when we are talking about how to best help your child in a unique and individualized approach, testing is the absolute most important number 1 thing so that we can give them what their specific body needs. And so when we do that, we actually get a clear picture when we use comprehensive functional testing, functional labs, a clear picture of what's going on with your kiddo and how their body is deficient in things and how we can replace them so they can thrive. So I want to share another story with you because I know as a mom, I would want to hear like, okay, how is change possible? How is my child different? How are you, Danielle, or different in helping children? Because I've tried all the things. I've done all the things. Like, what makes you so different? So let me just tell you, okay? So I worked with another mother who was a successful executive. She had a 10-year-old daughter who was really struggling with anxiety and what appeared to be ADHD symptoms. This mom had tried everything. When I say everything, I'm talking private tutors, therapy, medications, and she was spending thousands of dollars every single month and still felt like she was failing her daughter. When we met, mom was tired and exhausted and just really skeptical. And I get that. When you feel like you've done everything, why not be a skeptic? And I get it. But she was ready to try something different. And so when she met me, we chatted and we did a discovery call and clicked. And it was great. I could tell like she was my people, and I was ready to just work with her. And so what we did is we ran comprehensive functional labs on her daughter, and we discovered that her daughter was severely significant in having methylation issues. She had chronic inflammation, and she was reactive to several foods that she was eating daily. And so piling all this up was just causing havoc inside of her body. Even though physically outside, we were seeing the symptoms of ADHD and the anxious symptoms, we didn't know what was going on deeper, right? And so this is why functional psychiatry is so important, because it helps dig deeper and just keep going and finding something like, what can we do? And so within 6 months of doing the pro call and working with me, she was sleeping through the night. For the first time in years, her anxiety had decreased dramatically. And she was able to focus so much that her teachers were like, is this the same kid? Like, what's going on? And her mom told me that really what stuck with me was, for the first time in years, she was like, I have my daughter back. I'm happy. She's curious. She's engaging with life again. And she is being a normal 10-year-old. And that right there was like, this is why I do this. I help kiddos get to their best life, and really just trying to work with parents in that respect, because we want our kids to be successful human beings. We want them to be and feel confident. But a lot of times when children are not feeling confident and they're feeling like they're different from their peers, it really does come out in other ways. And if we don't treat it now, it's going to continue to be an issue for them. So this is why it's so important that we work on these things now. And really, this is what's possible when we work on root causes and we address them, and we're not just managing the symptoms. So I love that mom shared that with me, because I think it is so important and so key and resonates with why I do what I do, because I really do like to see that my children are thriving and that medication just isn't the answer, because I know it's not. And this is why I come to work every day and I show up for my patients and for my families, and I just love it. So again, this is why I created Three Arrows Functional Psychiatry. And what I do with that is my coaching combines my clinical expertise as a family nurse practitioner, a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and a mom of a neurodivergent child and a child with Down syndrome. I know that we have to be more creative with things, and that medication is not the answer. And so I created this with a root cause approach of functional medicine to really just make our kiddos thrive and do well. And so here's how it works. First, we do a discovery phone call and we just make sure we're a good fit, right? And so when we do that, we're like, yeah, good fit. I'm feeling really good. I'm like, we're vibing. We're feeling really good that this is going to be a successful working relationship, right? Then what we do is we do a comprehensive assessment, not a 15-minute, here's your meds, see you later kind of assessment. We're talking a deep dive into your child's history and their symptoms and really what you've tried, what they need. I look at if you've done previous labs and things like that. And then from there, we run functional labs, but really targeted to your child and their needs. And from there, they're not like your basic labs or pediatrician ones. We look at nutrient status, and we're looking at methylation markers and gut health and possibly food sensitivities and toxic load and all the pieces that traditional medicine often misses, which is why this is not covered by insurance, because a lot of times they don't want that. Because if you think about it, who's paying those bills with insurance? They're linked together. And not that I'm saying that that is a bad thing. What I'm saying is it doesn't allow us the time to look deeper into stuff. And so this is why I've created this. So thirdly, what we do is we create a personalized protocol based on your child's unique needs and results off of their testing. And this might include targeted supplementation, dietary modifications, lifestyle changes, environmental adjustments, support in school, things along those lines. Because what we do is really try to help your child in whatever they need help with. And really, it's ongoing support throughout that process. So it's not, here's a plan, you're good to go, see you later kind of thing. We work together to implement the changes and we gradually adjust as needed. And so you have contact with me. You have, when can I chat with you? How often do I get to talk to you? Those kind of things. Daily if you need to. We do weekly check-ins. And so there is a lot of hands-on as far as that goes. You're not just left here on devices of saying, here's some stuff, try it, see you later. Which I can tell you, majority of previous things that I even tried is not there. And it's just not, you don't feel successful in it. So parents that I work with don't just get a better outcome for their child, they're actually getting their confidence back as parents because they're like, you know what? I'm no longer guessing about what's going on or trying like random interventions with their kiddos. They're actually getting a clear roadmap based on their own child's actual biology, which is the coolest thing ever. Science. Let's totally geek out with that for a second. And really, when we can do that, it's amazing. And you see huge transitions and huge changes. If you're watching this and thinking like, hey, this really does sound like my child, I want you to know that you are not alone and you don't have to keep guessing. I work with parents who are ready to invest in their child's long-term mental health and well-being, and parents who understand that while this approach is an investment, it's the alternative is years of unsuccessful treatment, ongoing struggles, and watching your child suffer, which really costs so much more in the long run if we think about it. So if you're ready to stop managing those symptoms and start addressing root causes, I'd love to talk to you. I offer a limited number of consultations each month, so it's really important that we discuss your child's specific situation and what's going on. And so please make sure that you reach out to me and I can get you on my calendar because I would love to work with you. And if you've gotten this far in the videos, I'm thinking you would love to work with me too, because I really want the best life for your child, and really just seeing how they can thrive and they're not just a diagnosis. Because again, I don't believe that for children. So please reach out to me and I'd love to help you and love to walk this journey, because remember, your child's current diagnosis does not have to define their future. When we address the root cause of their struggles, we are actually knowing that healing becomes possible, and we're not just coping and we're not just managing, we're actually healing and we're thriving. So I hope that you have an amazing day, and thank you for listening to my spiel. So if you are watching this and thinking, gosh, that sounds like my child, I want you to know that you are not alone anymore. And you don't have to keep guessing. I work with parents who are ready to invest in their child's long-term mental health and well-being. Parents who can understand that while this approach is unique and it's an investment, the alternative of years of unsuccessful treatment and ongoing struggles and watching your child suffer, it costs so much more emotionally and physically. So why are we waiting? So if you're ready to stop managing the symptoms and start addressing the root causes, I'd love to talk to you, and I offer a limited number of consultations every single month because I want to make sure that I'm allowing enough time to meet individually with each of my parents and my families weekly and daily if they need me. And so with that, remember, your child's current diagnosis doesn't have to define their future. When we are addressing the root cause of what's going on in their struggles, healing becomes possible. Not just coping, not just managing, actual healing and thriving. So I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. So remember, your child's current diagnosis does not have to define their future or yours. When we address the root cause of their struggles, healing becomes possible, not just coping and just managing, actual healing and thriving. So if this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content about the functional approaches to children's mental health. And if you know another parent that's struggling, please send this message. I would love for you to share it with them. So thank you for watching, and remember, you are not alone in this journey. There is hope and there are answers, and I'll see you in the next video.